And I think I'm in a position to talk a little bit about that because I was part of the problem as an economic hitman. What do economic hitmen do? And I was an economic hitman during the 70s, only for 10 years, but it was long enough to really understand this process. My official title was chief economist at a major consulting firm in Boston, Charles T. Main. But I was really a con man, and I had a staff of about 50 really good economists who could back up all of my con man activities with all the statistics as economists are so good at doing. My job was to identify countries that had resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its other financial organizations or a combination of them, but none of the money would actually ever go to that country. Instead, it would go to our own corporations to build big infrastructure projects in that country. You all know this scene, I'm sure. Things like power plants and industrial parks that would benefit a few wealthy people in these countries, as well as our own corporations that were the major beneficiaries, but wouldn't help the majority of the people because they can't afford electricity. Don't get jobs in industrial parks because industrial parks don't hire many people. And yet they would be left holding a huge debt, so big that they couldn't possibly repay it. At some point, we economic hitmen go back and say, hey, since you can't pay your debts, sell us your oil real cheap, without any social regulations or environmental regulations. Or vote with us on the next critical United Nations vote, or let us build a military base on your soil. And in the few cases where I failed, where we economic hitmen fail, what we call the jackals come in. The jackals either overthrow governments, like the government of Mossadegh in Iran, and most recently Zelaya in Honduras a couple of years ago, or they assassinate the leaders, Allende in Chile, many others. I talk in my books about how I failed with the president of Ecuador, democratically elected President Jaime Roldos, and I failed with the head of state of Panama, Omar Torrijos. I wasn't able to corrupt these men. I wasn't able to get them to accept these loans. They had integrity, and they both were killed in CIA assassinations. I saw this happen. This is the world that we created. And specifically, I want to talk a little bit about some of my experiences in the Muslim world and the corruption that went on there.